So I needed a quick one and a fun one to fill the gap. What was that, you may ask? Look around you. I just gosh diddly darn love The Simpsons, and I mean, who doesn't? This is just
frosty chocolate milkshakes.
Let's just chill today. No big thesis, no broader point to make about, the show and art. Just talk about some episodes that I think are pretty dang fun. Just Simpsons being Simpsons. I'm at the end of my goddamn rope. So I've picked four episodes that I'm going to talk about today. This is not a top four. There's no specific theme to any of these episodes. These are just 4 episodes of the TV show The Simpsons that I think are fun episodes of TV, and I'm going to talk about them. That is it. That's it. That's the premise, man. And also,
Hey, that got her going.
Bitchin'.
Bart gets an F. Bart gets hit by a car. Bart's dog gets an F. Bart this, Bart that. Season 2 is probably the most Bart-centric season of the show, which, makes sense because he was more or less the face of the show back then. So, with so many options for Bart episodes in Season 2, some of which are arguably better than the one I've picked, why Bart vs. Thanksgiving? And the reason really comes down to, I think that Bart vs. Thanksgiving is the perfect representative for what makes Season 2 so special as a season of television. The show at this point, while still sharp, it really hasn't gotten to the comedic heights that the following seasons would reach. However, where it can't really compete in terms of jokes to seasons 4 and 5 and 6 and whatever, it ends up being probably the warmest and most grounded season of the show, even more than season 1, which is just too season 1 to be grounded. Bart vs. Thanksgiving, believe it or not, is a Thanksgiving episode. The main conflict revolves around Bart fighting with Lisa, destroying her homemade Thanksgiving centerpiece, and when met with scorn from the family, he and Santa's little helper run away and embark on a mini-odyssey throughout the town. The writing does a really good job at believably and most importantly likably showing Bart's perspective in a situation where he's unquestionably in the wrong, to a point where you still want to root for him and hope that things work out for him. Classic Simpsons really perfected this balancing act where the stories that follow children are still enjoyable, they're funny and intelligently written, but they still feel like they're from the perspective of children. Obviously, it's heightened to an extent, but that childlike naivete is never really lost. It's something I don't think I've ever seen another show really capture without sacrificing one element or another. The ending on the roof is just undoubtedly one of the highlights of the season. At this point in the show, they were still interested in doing sincere character exploration, as the goal of the story is revealed in not just asking why Bart does the things that he does, but getting Bart to ask himself these questions and getting into the fact that he's more so thoughtless than cruel. Which actually feels earned and satisfying to watch because you can pick up on that just by watching the show anyways. It's really strong, thoughtful, and consistent characterization. So seeing Bart reach that conclusion himself in a believable way is just really nice, to be honest. I don't know what to say. Season 2 is just too fuzzy for its own damn good, and I love it. And with all that said, my favorite part about the episode still has to be the first act, which is made up almost entirely of mundane humor about the holidays. Again, it's that Season 2 thing. It's vibrant and clever, but not committed to absurdity like the funniest seasons of the show. So you get these super cozy and comparatively grounded looks at these characters. The cranberry sauce gag, the cranberry sauce, it's one of my favorite jokes in The Simpsons just for how relentlessly mundane and just flat it plays it. It's memorable solely because it is so reserved in its execution. An all-time classic if you ask me.
Congratulations.
Poor guy.
Whoa, a season 3 episode in my 4 Simpsons episode list video? It's not really a list, it's a compilation. Is it? Seasons 2 through 6 had a tradition of one flashback episode per season. In Season 2, we saw how Homer and Marge met. In Season 4, we saw them have a Lisa. Season 5 was a random riff on the Beatles that absolutely destroyed any sense of continuity or believability seen up to that point, and is amazing. God, I love Season 5. David Merkin's reign as showrunner is downright comedic magic. And then Season 6 did the Maggie episode, which is rightfully iconic for its ending and just overall being amazing. So I feel like I Married Marge, which, believe it or not, is about how Homer married Marge, is the underrated one of the bunch. Like, it's a classic for sure, but it doesn't have a Birds Appearing song. It doesn't have a Do It For Her. It doesn't have a Hello, Joe! It doesn't even have George Harrison, for God's sakes. What does this episode have? Okay, let me pull it back a little bit. I'm gonna go here, because truly this is not some underdog in the Simpsons catalog. It's a pretty well loved episode as it is. I Married Marge carries the inherent charm of these early Simpsons flashback episodes of just getting to see the early days of these characters. They really capture a level of humbleness that the later flashbacks don't really have. At least even not really to the same extent. The thing I like most about this episode is how well it characterizes Homer. He's still oafish and dim, but his relentlessly well-intentioned actions and the actual tenderness towards Marge is impossible not to love. The Way We Was is the fuzzier episode of the two, but I think this one actually gives more depth to Homer and Marge's relationship. Or at least just more weight to it. Excuse me. With Homer, we're seeing a less secure version of him without the status quo he settled into in the regular episodes, where he really wants nothing more than to just marry Marge, yet is fearful about his ability to provide the life he feels like she deserves. And with Marge, her role in this episode builds off the last flashback really well. Throughout the show, there's always this lingering air around them of why exactly does Marge stay with Homer? Did she really just settle for an oaf? She chose him over Artie Ziff in the last flashback because he showed actual investment and care for her, and which, it seemed, pretty good in contrast to Artie Ziff. So here in this episode, we really get to see Homer show his care for Marge in a meaningful way, in a way that follows through with what that last episode showed, believably validating Marge and even the audience that she did make the right choice. Also, man, the episode is just really fucking funny. Like, the botched proposal that Homer does, it fucking kills me every time. I don't know, it's a really sweet and funny episode.
I believe today I will try bold.
Season 5, my beloved. Here, you live over here with Game of Thrones now. For so long, Season 5 was definitively my favorite season of The Simpsons. Nowadays, it's my favorite season of The Simpsons, but less definitively. Anyways, Season 5 is notable for containing the 100th episode of the show. 100 episodes of The Simpsons? Get out of here. Sweet Seymour Skinner's Badass song. Way to avoid the censors, guys. It's an interesting pick for a 100th episode. So interesting that I'm not even going to talk about its relative significance and just say I think it's a really good episode. Skinner is one of the best supporting characters in the show. Go figure. I've never really liked how the later seasons tend to use his character. They lean way too much into that pathetic side of him, and it's a bit much and way overdone. And I bring this up because I think this episode is just peak Skinner. He's incredibly lame and mildly pathetic, but Harry Shearer's performance and the overall tone with his character still plays a level of earnest dignity and authority, even if Skinner himself is the only one who perceives those two things, or at least those two things are lightly glazed onto his presence because he is an authority figure, being principal and all. In this episode, we see him lose his job as principal, and good God, how good is this sequence? No, actually, hold on. Not even just like the first school sequence, but like the whole first quarter of the episode. This episode has the Geo, the walking clock, Snagglepuss, Grease Me Up Woman, vent sequence, and even more than that, just before the plot kicks off. That's like fucking 5-6 minutes of television, maybe a little more? What the hell? And everything I said about Skinner's characterization can be summed up in this one amazing clip.
I'm sorry, did you just call me a liar?
No, I said you were fired.
Oh. That's much worse.
Bart and Skinner's newfound friendship after he's fired feels so natural. It does a really good job easing the concept into play, and it doubly works because we're already seeing the shaky man being stripped of his only authority. And I don't know, it's just really funny and natural in a way that modern Skinner isn't. And I'm not bashing modern Simpsons. I actually think modern Simpsons is often better than people give it credit for, but I could do a whole video. Hey, Damien. Never mind. Scratch that whole sequence. Erase it. And to continue how comedically varied this episode is, Ned Flanders joins the story in a kind of wild card writing decision that's just... Chalmers' apathy about the state of the school is not only a good bit, but it makes it super satisfying once Skinner actually does turn around and flip things on its head and comes back.
They think it's a good idea to give that freak his job back.
I seems to know the students' names.
And it's got Billy and the Clonosaurus. This episode it's really good. Funny, even.
Pow!
No!
This episode's fun. Season 10 is full of, is chock full, even, of quirky little career adventures for Homer. It's one of the better Homer career episodes because I feel like it actually has more going for it above just Homer getting a job and then hijinks ensue. Already, I love the Baimon Sci-Fi Con stuff. Mark Hamill getting up there just to sell a phone plan, and Quimby's guards and the way they fall out of their job always makes me chuckle. Homer getting to observe Quimby's cowardice and corruption is really fun without getting too bogged down and providing commentary and letting him actually show agency on actual moral grounds, which is great to see for Homer, especially in season 10. This was the episode where he assaulted the Emperor of Japan, after all, and stole Greece and beat people, stole an invention from Thomas Edison, which Thomas Edison himself would never do. And I especially love Homer and Quimby's paranoia after cracking down on the whole, rat milk operation. The whole climax of the episode is just incredible. You got Mark Hamill's vanity.
Hey, pal, that's my headshot up there next to the pepper steak, and don't you forget it.
The dance and the Homer's diligence over the poisoned food, and my personal favorite.
Nobody messes with the mayor when Homer Simpson's I... Oh, crap.
I mean, yeah, Fat Tony's always a win for any episode. Yeah, I mean, I just thought this episode is a lot of fun. It's always been one of my favorite, chill, casual watches for the show. I just had to pull one in here where I'm not really talking about characterization in depth and just saying, like, hey, episode funny. It's got Mark Hamill. So yeah, thanks for coming around. The Simpsons, even just within those first 10 seasons, it's so comedically varied and dense. It's such a lively pool of material to talk about. And I had some fun dipping my toes into it. I would love to do deeper talks about certain episodes, or maybe a more thorough list. I really hope this video wasn't too low effort, but I feel like if I want to use this YouTube channel as just an opportunity to talk about stuff I like, sometimes that just means saying, hey, Mark Hamill's in this episode of The Simpsons and it's funny. Hey, you have a good one. And subscribe. I make short films and other stuff. What do I make? Good luck, and to all a good night.